First contact and revelation. The deep space around the Pathfinder was quiet, almost unnaturally so. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge of Earth's newest exploratory vessel, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing sensor readings from an uncharted solar system at the edge of the Sagittarius Arm. Something felt off about this place. "Captain, I'm picking up an unusual signal," Lieutenant Kira Okafor announced from the communications station. "It's faint, but definitely artificial." Maya moved closer, her interest piqued. "Can you clean it up?" "Working on it." Kira's fingers danced across the haptic interface. "It appears to be a mathematical sequence. Prime numbers, repeating at regular intervals. Natural phenomena. Don't broadcast prime numbers," Science Officer Dr. Elias Reeves remarked, joining them at the station. "That's a deliberate signal." The signal was emanating from the third planet in the system, a beautiful blue-green world with expansive oceans covering nearly 90% of its surface. Maya checked their mission parameters again. The Pathfinder was supposed to be conducting a standard survey of potentially habitable worlds, not making first contact with unknown species. "Dr. Reeves, what do our scans tell us about that planet?" Maya asked. "Nothing in our database matches its profile," Elias replied, bringing up the sensor readings. "But there's something concerning: high levels of exotic particles in the oceans, much higher than should be present in a life-sustaining ecosystem." Maya made her decision. "Adjust course. Let's take a closer look." "Captain," her XO, Commander Jackson Wei, spoke up from his station. "Protocol dictates we should report this to Earth Command before approaching an unknown civilization." "Send the report," Maya nodded. "But we're still proceeding." That signal feels like a cry for help. As they entered orbit around the planet, the crew fell silent. Through the clouds, they could see vast underwater structures gleaming beneath the waves, cities that pulsed with soft bioluminescent light in patterns too regular to be natural. "Those structures," Dr. Reeves said, voice filled with wonder. "They appear to be living architecture, grown rather than built." Maya led the first contact team down in a submersible shuttle. The ship's advanced translators had been analyzing the mathematical signal, preparing to establish communication. What they discovered beneath the waves left them all speechless. The beings who lived here, the Celerins, as they called themselves, were breathtaking. Vaguely humanoid but clearly evolved for aquatic life, their translucent skin rippled with patterns of living light that shifted with their emotions. They moved through the water with an ethereal grace, their cities formed from cultivated coral-like structures that grew according to their needs. But many of them were visibly ill. Their once bright bioluminescence was dimming, patches of their skin turning opaque and gray. Using the universal language of mathematics, the humans established basic communication with the Celerins. Their leader, a dignified elder named Neira, explained their dire situation through a combination of light patterns and gestures that the translators slowly began to interpret. "Our waters sicken." The translation approximated. "The light within us fades. Soon, all will be darkness." "What's causing this?" Maya asked, her voice transmitted through the water by specialized equipment. Neira's lights pulsed in a pattern that the translator interpreted as uncertainty. It came from the stars. "A change. Our waters grow toxic to us." "Have other space travelers visited you before us?" Maya asked, her suspicion growing. Neira's body flashed with what they would later understand was bitter recognition. Through elaborate light patterns and gestures, Neira confirmed that over the past decade, 3 different advanced spacefaring species had indeed visited the Celerins. Each had studied their plight, collected samples, and then departed without offering help. "Why didn't they help you?" Maya asked, struggling to keep the anger from her voice. The translation of Neira's response hit Maya like a physical blow. "Too difficult. Not enough resources. Not worth saving." Maya felt a cold fury rise within her. She looked at her team, then back at the suffering Celerins. Their entire species was slowly dying because other advanced civilizations had deemed them unworthy of the effort required to save them. She stepped forward and placed her hand against the transparent barrier separating them from the water. Looking directly at Neera, she spoke clearly, knowing the translation would be imperfect, but trusting the sincerity of her words would carry through. "We will help you," she said. "Humans don't leave people to die." That evening, back on the Pathfinder, Maya called her senior staff together. "Our mission has changed," she told them, her voice steady but intense. "Earth sent us to explore, but we found something more important. An entire species facing extinction because others deemed them expendable. What exactly is killing them?" Dr. Hamid Kazemi, the ship's xenobiologist, asked. "From our preliminary analysis," Dr. Reeves explained, "it appears their oceans are contaminated with exotic particles consistent with the waste products of certain types of interstellar drives. Our hypothesis is that someone has been using this system as a dumping ground for starship waste, not realizing, or perhaps not caring, that it's poison to the native life forms. The contamination is breaking down the symbiotic microorganisms that facilitate their bioluminescence," Kazemi added. "Without these microorganisms, their entire biological system eventually fails. It's like their light literally goes out." Maya looked around at the faces of her crew. "I won't order anyone to participate in this. Our mission parameters don't cover intervention on this scale. If anyone objects, speak now." The room remained silent until Chief Engineer Takashi Ito raised his hand. "Captain, I've been running simulations. With some modifications to our filtration systems, we could process small volumes of their ocean water, remove the contaminants. It wouldn't be enough to save the planet, but it might buy some time for the worst affected areas." "Do it," Maya ordered. "Dr. Kazemi, focus on developing some kind of treatment for the affected Celerins. Commander Wei, prepare a comprehensive report for Earth Command. We're going to need reinforcements if we want to save these people." As the meeting dispersed, a message arrived from Earth Command. Their initial report had caused considerable concern. The Celerins were classified as a pre-spaceflight civilization under the protection of the Non-Interference Directive. The orders were clear: observe, document, but do not intervene. Maya stared at the screen, then looked out the viewport at the planet below. In the nightside waters, she could see the dimming lights of the Celerin cities slowly blinking out like dying stars. "Send a response," she told Communications Officer Okafor. "Tell them we found a sentient species facing extinction due to outside contamination. 3 advanced civilizations have already abandoned them to die. Ask them if humanity wants to be the 4th. She turned to her crew. "I don't know about you, but I didn't cross 20 light years to stand by and watch an entire species die when we could help them. Not when we have the means to make a difference." One by one, her crew voiced their support. They would help the Celerins, whatever the consequences. The next day, Maya led another team down to the largest Celerin settlement. Neera met them, her bioluminescence noticeably dimmer than the day before. "We've analyzed the problem," Maya explained through the translator. "Your waters are being poisoned by waste from starships. We're going to help clean it and find a way to heal your people." Neera's lights pulsed with what the translator identified as confusion, then hope. Others said too difficult. Why do humans try when others would not? Maya thought carefully about her answer. "Because where we come from, value isn't measured by convenience. Every sentient life deserves a chance to survive. That's who we are." As the Pathfinder's crew began setting up filtration equipment around the main Celerin settlement, Dr. Kazemi made a breakthrough. The Celerins' symbiotic microorganisms could potentially be regenerated with specific wavelengths of light and nutrients. It wouldn't be an instant cure, but it could halt the decline and give the affected Celerins a chance to recover. They established a treatment center in one of the larger coral structures, where the sickest Celerins could receive care. Engineer Ito's filtration systems began removing the toxic particles from the water surrounding the settlement, creating a safe zone for the inhabitants. But these were stopgap measures. The entire ocean needed to be cleansed, and that was far beyond the capabilities of a single exploratory vessel. The contamination levels were rising faster than they had initially calculated. Without large-scale intervention, the Celerins had less than a year before their extinction became inevitable. A week after their arrival, Maya received a priority transmission from Earth Command. She prepared herself for a reprimand, possibly even orders to return to Earth to face disciplinary action for violating the non-interference directive. Instead, the message stunned her. Earth Command had reviewed their reports and evidence. The abandonment of the Celerins by multiple advanced species had sparked outrage across Earth. The non-interference directive had been temporarily suspended for this mission. Captain Chen, Admiral Lakshmi Patel's face filled the screen. Your actions have initiated considerable debate at command. But in the end, we all agreed. Humanity cannot be party to what amounts to criminal negligence on an interstellar scale. Help is coming. A fleet of environmental recovery vessels and medical ships has been dispatched to your location. They should arrive within 2 weeks. In the meantime, you are authorized to use all available resources to stabilize the situation. Save those people, Captain. Show them what humanity stands for. Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She called Naira and the Celerin elders to share the news. Through the translator, she explained that many more human ships were coming with technology and specialists to help clean their oceans and heal their people. Why? One of the elders asked, their lights pulsing with genuine confusion. Your people gain nothing from helping us. We have no technology to share, no resources you need. Maya smiled. That's not why we help. We help because we can, because one day we might be the ones who need help, and because every sentient species deserves the chance to determine its own future. As night fell over the Celeran world, the dying lights of their cities seemed just a little brighter. For the first time since the contamination began, there was hope, and it had come from the most unexpected source. A species the Celerins had never heard of before, from a distant planet called Earth. The human solution. 2 weeks after Captain Maya Chen had made her controversial decision to help the Celerins, the Pathfinder's crew was exhausted but determined. They had worked tirelessly alongside the aquatic beings, establishing filtration zones around the most populated areas and treating the worst affected individuals in makeshift medical facilities. Chief Engineer Takeshi Ito hadn't slept properly in days. He sat in the ship's engineering lab, surrounded by holographic schematics and samples of the contaminated water. The filtration systems they deployed were working, but too slowly. The toxins were spreading faster than they could remove them. We need something more efficient, he muttered, running another simulation. Something that works with the planet's natural currents. Dr. Hamid Kazemi entered the lab, his own exhaustion evident in the dark circles under his eyes. Any progress on the large-scale filtration? Not enough, Takashi admitted. At our current rate, we'd need centuries to clean the entire ocean. What about the biological treatment? We've stabilized about 300 of the most critical cases, Hamid reported. The light therapy is working, but their recovery is slow. Without cleaner water, they'll just get sick again once they leave the treatment centers. Their conversation was interrupted by Lieutenant Okafor's voice over the comm system. All senior staff to the bridge. They're here. When Maya and her senior officers reached the bridge, they were met with an awe-inspiring sight on the main view screen. Dozens of Earth vessels had dropped out of FTL on the edge of the system. Environmental recovery ships, medical vessels, research craft, and even volunteer civilian transports. That's a lot more than I expected, Commander Wee said, breaking the stunned silence. Maya smiled. Never underestimate humanity's response to a crisis. Admiral Patel's face appeared on the communication screen. Captain Chen, I hope we're not too late. The situation back home exploded once your reports went public. Every environmental organization, medical institution, and scientific body wanted to help. We've brought specialists, equipment, and a few experimental technologies we've been saving for an ecological catastrophe. You've arrived just in time, Admiral, Maya replied. We've been holding the line, but barely. Within hours, the Earth fleet had established orbit around the Celerin world, and teams began descending to the surface. Environmental engineers deployed next-generation nanofiltration systems that could process thousands of gallons per minute. Medical ships established floating treatment centers with advanced facilities for the sickest Celerins. Research vessels began comprehensive studies of the planet's ecosystem to develop long-term solutions. Nayera and the Celerin elders watched the human operation with wonder, their bioluminescence pulsing with emotions too complex for the translators to fully capture. So many. Nayera gestured, lights dancing across her translucent skin. So much effort for those you never knew before. That's what humans do, Maya explained. When we see suffering, we don't calculate profit or convenience. We act. The scale of the human response had another unexpected effect. 3 days after the Earth fleet's arrival, sensors detected new ships entering the system, vessels belonging to the very same advanced civilizations that had previously abandoned the Celerins. They're requesting permission to approach, Lieutenant Okafor reported. Their communications indicate they wish to assist. Maya exchanged looks with Admiral Patel, who had joined her on the Pathfinder. Interesting timing, Patel remarked dryly. Now that we're doing the heavy lifting. Let them come, Maya decided. But I want to speak with them personally. The representatives of the 3 species, the insectoid Vesperi, the crystalline Lumini, and the gaseous Aerith, arrived on the Pathfinder with obvious discomfort. They had not expected to encounter another spacefaring race here, much less one engaged in a massive rescue operation. We are surprised by your presence, the Vesperi ambassador chittered through a translation device. This situation was deemed beyond practical intervention. Maya stood tall before them, making no effort to hide her contempt. Practical for whom? An entire sentient species is facing extinction due to contamination that is almost certainly from interstellar traffic through this system, traffic that likely included your vessels. The cost-benefit analysis did not support intervention. The Lumini representative stated, light refracting through its crystalline form. The Celerins have not developed technologies of value to the galactic community, and that's your metric for determining which lives are worth saving. Admiral Patel asked, her voice dangerous quiet, what they can offer you in return. The Aerith representative, a swirling mass of colored gases contained in a transparent environmental suit, pulsed with what seemed like discomfort. We observe that humans have committed significant resources to this effort. What do you hope to gain? Maya looked at each of them in turn. We gain the knowledge that we did the right thing. We gain allies who will remember that when they were dying, humans were the ones who came to help. We gain the satisfaction of knowing we didn't betray our own values for convenience. She gestured to the view screen showing the massive human operation below. This is who we are. We don't measure lives by their technological development or resource potential. If you want to help now, you're welcome to join us. But understand this, the Celerins are under Earth's protection now. And we will remember who stood by while they suffered. The representatives exchanged uncomfortable glances before the Vesperi ambassador spoke again. We will contribute resources to your effort. Perhaps there are perspectives we fail to consider. As they left, Dr. Reeves turned to Maya. That was diplomatic of you, Captain. I half expected you to order them off the planet. We need their help, Maya replied pragmatically. Their technology is still more advanced than ours in some areas. Besides, maybe they'll learn something from us for a change. With the combined resources of Earth's fleet and the reluctant contributions from the 3 alien civilizations, the Celerin Recovery Initiative began to show real progress. Environmental vessels deployed massive filtration arrays that worked with the planet's natural currents to gradually cleanse the oceans. Research teams developed biological agents that could accelerate the breakdown of the toxic particles without harming the native ecosystem. In the underwater cities, medical teams worked with Celerin healers to perfect treatments for the affected population. The recovery pods developed by Dr. Kazemi and his team, enhanced with technology from the Lumini, showed remarkable results. Celerins, who had been on the verge of losing their light entirely, were beginning to glow again. 1 month into the operation, Maya visited one of the treatment centers with Nera. A young Celerin child who had been critically ill when they first arrived swam up to them, their bioluminescence flickering with renewed vigor. "I grow bright again," the child communicated through light patterns that the translator rendered into simple language. The darkness was coming, but the humans brought back the light. Nera's own patterns glowed with what Maya had come to recognize as profound emotion. "Before you came, we had accepted our fate. The others told us it was natural selection, that some species survive while others do not." Maya watched the child swim away, trailing patterns of light through the water. "There's nothing natural about dying from someone else's pollution, and even if it were, humans have always fought against the cruelty of nature. It's part of who we are." Over the following months, the situation on the Celerin world gradually stabilized. The most contaminated regions had been cleansed, and the rate of new illnesses had dropped dramatically. The Celerins themselves had become active participants in their own salvation, learning to operate the filtration technology and assist with treatments. 6 months after the Pathfinder's initial discovery, Admiral Patel called a meeting of all mission leaders, including the representatives from the 3 alien civilizations who had remained to assist. "The crisis phase is over," Patel announced. "The contamination levels have been reduced to manageable levels, and the Celerin population is showing strong recovery. We're now entering the sustainability phase." Maya looked at the data with satisfaction. "The ecosystem is healing itself now that we've removed the worst of the toxins. The Celerins' natural symbiosis with their environment is reasserting itself." "Which brings us to the question of long-term protection," Patel continued. "This system needs to be designated as a protected zone, with stringent penalties for dumping or contamination." The Vesperi ambassador, who had become surprisingly committed to the project over the months, raised a clawed appendage. "We will support such a designation in the Galactic Council, and we propose a joint monitoring station to ensure compliance." "Agreed," Patel nodded. "And Earth will maintain a presence here as well, at the Celerins' request, not to interfere with their development, but to ensure their protection until they can defend themselves." Later that day, Maya stood on the observation deck of the Pathfinder, watching the bioluminescent lights of the Celerin cities below. They were noticeably brighter now, pulsing with the rhythm of a civilization that had faced extinction and survived. Commander Wei joined her at the viewport. Orders just came through. "Once the transition to the sustainability team is complete, we're to resume our original exploration mission." Maya nodded. "There's a lot more galaxy out there to see. And potentially more species in need of help," Wei added with a knowing look. "Let's hope not," Maya replied. "But if there are, I trust humanity will respond the same way." On their final day on the Celerin world, the entire Council of Elders gathered to bid farewell to the Pathfinder's crew. Nera, whose bioluminescence had fully recovered, led the ceremony. "Before you came, Nera communicated through patterns of light that had become familiar to Maya over the months. We believed the stars held only indifference. Those who visited before you showed us that advanced beings need not care about others unlike themselves." The pattern shifted, brightening intensely. "You have taught us differently. Humans came when we were abandoned. Humans worked when others said it was too difficult. Humans cared when others saw no value in our lives." Nera approached Maya and extended a hand-like appendage, touching the surface of Maya's diving suit in a gesture they had developed as a sign of respect between their species. "We will remember. When the Celerins one day journey to the stars ourselves, we will remember that our light continues because Earth refused to let it die. And we will carry that lesson with us. That true advancement is measured not by technology or power, but by compassion and the willingness to help others without calculation of return. As the Pathfinder broke orbit the next day, Maya took one last look at the blue-green world below. The oceans that had been slowly dying were vibrant again, and the lights of the Celerin cities shone brightly against the darkness of the deep. "Set course for our next survey target," she ordered. As the ship accelerated away, Maya thought about what they had accomplished here. They had saved a species, changed the attitudes of 3 advanced civilizations, and perhaps most importantly, they had shown the galaxy something uniquely human, that sometimes the most powerful technology isn't a weapon or a drive system, but the simple, unshakable belief that every life has value. And that was a legacy worth crossing the stars for.